Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at Piepmatz, which is a small books card game published by Lookout Games and designed by Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback. This one accommodates 2 to 4 players and takes around 30 minutes to play on average. So Piepmatz is going to look like this when it's set up, where you have a deck of these bird cards with 3 in a communal drafting row ready for players to take in the future. You also have this column of seed cards which look like this, which are going to be potential points that you get throughout the game. So each one of these seeds is going to be a victory point. And you've also got this perch area on the board, which is where you're going to play cards in order to collect these seed cards. So depending on the player count, you're going to have a number of perches. In a 2 or 3 player game, you're going to have 2 perches. But in a 4 player game, you're going to have an additional 3rd perch. Like that, we're going to stack another bird here. You can also see we're going to start with 2 birds at the perch here, which are apparently eating these seeds. And each player is also going to have a bunch of, or 4 cards in their hand. And I suppose the best way to explain this game is to explain how the scoring works. Because not only are you going to get points through these seed cards, you're also going to get 5 points for every pair of male and female birds of the same type that you have. So you can see here, this player would have a yellow hammer female and a yellow hammer male, and again, if you get a pair of those, then you're going to get 5 points. You can do that as many times as you like. Additionally, if you have the majority of a particular suit of cards or a bird type, then you're going to get these eggs on there as well, which are going to be half the points of the value here rounded up. So you see in this 5, you're going to get an additional 3 points. And again, that is going to count for every single suit of cards, for these bullfinches, for these sparrows, for the greenfinches, and so on. So on a player's turn, all you're going to do is you're going to take one of your 4 cards. Let's say I take this this sparrow here, and you're going to place it on one of these perches, or at least to the side of one of these perches. So let's just say I do this like so. And then what you're going to do is you're going to compare the complete value of everything that's not on a perch on this side to the bird that's on the perch here and calculate the difference. So you can see here, this bird has a 6, this one has a 5, therefore there is a difference of 1. That would mean that you would take the first card in the column here. So if I was 2 over, I'll take this card. If I was 3 over, I'll take this card. And 4 over, I'll take this card. If I was 5 or more over, I would be top decking from the deck here and getting a bit of a lucky dip. So again, let's say I played the 6 here. That means I'll take this seed card like so, and put it into my scoring pile for endgame points. And then I'm also going to take this bird here into my scoring area with that idea of, again, collecting the majorities of that type and collecting male and female pairs. And then you're going to remove the strongest bird that's not at that perch to the perch like so. Now, if the value is not higher than the bird at the perch, so let's just say I play this level 1 sparrow, you can see I've got a total value of 4 here, and the bird at the perch is 6, so I'm still under that value. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my remaining cards in my hand and simply play it directly into my scoring area. There is also the potential for this to create somewhat of a domino effect. So let's say I played this 3 greenfinch here, creating a total value of 7, therefore trumping the 6 here. That would make me take this card, add it to my scoring pile. I was 1 over, so therefore I'll take the first card in the row for victory points. And then again, the strongest card here is going to go up to the perch, but if there's a tie, then it's going to be the one closest to the perch. So that would go up like this. But you can see now this value here still is above the one at the perch. So that process would repeat itself. So again, we're still 1 over, because we've got a total value of 4 now to the value of 1, to the value of 3, being again 1 over. Then I'll take this seed card, again, add it to my scoring pile again, take this one into my scoring pile, and then remove the strongest one to the perch. Now, sometimes when you refresh this row of seeds from round to round, you're going to draw these crow cards or these squirrel cards. And when you do that, you're going to place them adjacent to the lowest card in that column of seed cards. So you see the squirrel went straight down to the bottom, and then the crow went down to the second from bottom. Now, these are cards that you're going to have to take if you end up capturing these seeds here. So let's just say this player played their bullfinch here, creating again a value of 4 to the 3. Therefore, they're going to be 1 over. They're going to take this seed card, and they're also going to take the squirrel that goes with it, which is going to be a bad thing. And of course, they'll take this one as normal. But let's talk about what these cards actually do when you end up taking them. So once you finish doing the whole sequence of taking the seed cards as normal, then you're going to resolve all these negative effects from these crow and squirrel cards. So the crows are going to scare away a bird from your score pile and basically remove it from the game, but it has to be from your strongest suit of cards or the most numerous suit of card that you have. So if I had, say, 5 green finches, I'd have to maybe lose a green finch. The squirrels are going to force you to shuffle all your previously owned seed cards and discard 2 of them at random, of course, which is going to hit you quite hard in terms of the end game scoring. And once you've gone through the process of placing your cards, taking any seed cards or potential negative effects, you're going to draw back up to 4 cards, either top decking from the deck there or taking from the communal draft row. And that's essentially how you play Piepmatz. You're going to keep going until you run out of these seed cards or squirrel and crow cards. Then you're going to calculate all your seeds, all your pairs of birds, and all your numerous bird types and count the eggs on those. And yeah, that's it really. So let's go into my review on Piepmatz. Okay, so one of the main reasons why I wanted to try Piepmatz was because I'm quite familiar with some other games designed by this design team of Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback. They designed some recent card games that I've enjoyed thoroughly, such as Stella and Sub-Astral. I rated both of those extremely highly, and naturally that made me want to dive deeper into their previous designs. Hence why I'm here playing Piepmatz. Now, something I would say about these designers is that they try things out the box. That you see mechanisms from them that you haven't seen before, and Piepmatz is another example of that. I've never seen this kind of perch system before, where again you're playing cards with the idea of going over by a pretty particular amount so that you can get the exact cards that you want. Obviously not only to get the most seeds, but also to avoid these horrible crow and squirrel cards. But the management of your hand is quite interesting because, of course, you want to play those exact cards, but you're going to potentially give them away to other players by playing them because they could end up at the perch on the following player's turn and they could end up taking them. So you need to be careful about not always just to go higher in order to get the seed cards themselves, which are going to be a strong amount of points. But also, sometimes you want to keep below that limit because you want to play a card directly from your hand. So I do like the way that, again, Riddle and Pinchback use that hand system of, are you going to use them to almost put into the ether and potentially give up to other players, or are you going to keep them close to your chest and play them straight into your scoring pile, but at the risk of other things? So yeah, I do like the way that works. This is actually quite intuitive once you get your head around it. And the effect, or the potential to do that domino effect, can be quite satisfying. When you play a right card, you can end up taking a couple of strong seed cards if you map things out carefully. I do enjoy the 3 different scoring criteria of the game. The idea of collecting these pairs of male and female birds. This is very obviously intuitive and logical. And I also like the way that you can just collect the seeds and, of course, try to get the standard area majorities. And weighing up the fact of, if there's a very specific card you want to collect a new pair, because 5 points is a nice swing of points, you might even be prepared to take maybe a crow card because you have maybe a surplus card of your most numerous suit that you can afford to get rid of. Now, that kind of leads into one of my most negative things about the game, and that is these crow and squirrel cards. So I will straight up say that I do like it when games offer a risk of doing things and when you have consequences to doing certain things which can hurt you. But I will say that I find that the crow card isn't so bad, I'll be honest, but this squirrel card, I think, is pretty annoying, and not in a good way, because you can end up just, again, shuffling your whole stack of cards here and losing all your 3s just by no fault of your own, whereas if it happens to somebody else, they might just end up losing all their 1s. So that felt a little bit jarring for me, considering how meticulous the rest of the game is. This felt like it wasn't quite a good fit, and again, it just made me feel like it was annoying rather than any fun. The game does take around 30 minutes to play, which is about right. It certainly doesn't outstay its welcome, and it's quite a quick, little punchy game that's quite quick to set up and get played and packed away again. And also the rules explanation isn't terribly difficult. I think if you're familiar with a few card games, you're going to wrap your head around the rules quite quickly, despite being some differences and some unique mechanisms that you might not have seen before. You've got some decent passive player interaction here. You've got that standard turn angst of wanting to collect very particular types of birds. There might be a yellow hammer here sat at the perch that you really want to complete your set and hope that it doesn't disappear before it gets back to your turn. And the same applies to drafting types of cards from the card row there. And of course, the having the majorities in each of the bird types is going to be a strong kind of tension throughout the game to make sure you get all those extra points from the eggs on the cards themselves. And of course, making sure you have the right card at the right time to grab the most kind of profitable seeds from the column in the middle. The production for this game is fantastic. Yes, it is just a card game, but the cards themselves are a decent quality. But I suppose the main talking point is the illustrations themselves. The cards look fantastic. They have these beautifully illustrated, colourful, almost science book looking birds that just pop on the table and they look fantastic. Also, the kind of iconography and things on the cards look good. You know, the numbers are very clear. You've got the eggs that are clear there for the endgame scoring, and you can clearly differentiate the male and female types due to the the gender symbols here. So yeah, very happy with the way the game looks. It completely goes above and beyond in terms of its visual appeal. The game does also scale pretty well. To be honest, I would almost always lean towards playing this at 2 or 3 players rather than the 4, because I think the board can just change, or the state of play can change a bit too much with that 4th player, and you can't really pull off what you really intended to, because it's going to be too long before you take your turn again. Now, that being said, there is an additional perch, so you have got an additional option to go to, but again, I think I prefer that more controlled approach of a 2 or 3 player game. Okay, so let's get in some final thoughts on Piepmatz. So I will come out straight away and say that I do not think this game is as strong as those other 2 games I mentioned earlier, Stellar and Subastral. I think those 2 games are sublime. I think this one is good. I think it's better than your average card game, and it's got some quite interesting things going on that I haven't seen before, and I always appreciate innovative designs and just trying new things. So the way this perch system works is very interesting, and there's always something you can do on your turn because there are different ways that the cards work. You know, even if you can't trump one of these and end up taking some of these seed cards, you can at least play something to your scoring tableau and work towards those pairs or towards this majority. So you've always got something you can do. Now, that being said, I do not like the way that these negative cards work at all, to be honest. I think they do take away from the game quite a lot, and I would have liked to have seen something a bit different, a bit more clever in the way they worked. Now, I do understand this is a 30-minute game. It's a simple card game, so I do give it some kind of leeway because of that. But particularly this squirrel card, some people are going to get hit way harder than others just purely by the luck of the shuffle. They can end up keep losing their 3 eggs or their 3 seeds, where some people just might keep losing their 1 seeds, and that's going to quite strongly impact on who wins the game. And that also applies to when you end up top decking here by taking 5 over the bird limit. Some people are going to draw 3 seeds, some people are going to draw a squirrel or a crow, again, which can hurt them quite significantly. Again, I know you can make contingencies for that, and you have to accept the risk when you do that, but it was enough to detract from the game for me and to stop me enjoying it as much as I could have if that wasn't a factor in the game. I think if you can look past that, then there's a lot to enjoy here. It's different, it feels fresh, and I think a lot of people could enjoy it. So again, one that I think is competing with so many other games in my collection that I don't think this one is quite strong enough to stick around. However, again, I do completely appreciate some of the novel mechanisms here that I haven't seen before. But yeah, ultimately it's not going to be a keeper around. It didn't quite hit the peaks of those other games. But that is my final thoughts on Piepmatz.